Well, there's a new psycho in town, and she likes gummy worms. Becky stars Lulu Wilson, Kevin James, Joel McHale, and is directed by Jonathan Milo and Carrie Murnion. What is up, guys? We have a brand new 2020 movie. Those come few and far between this year because, of course, the theaters are all closed. Hopefully they open back up safely next month. But there is a new movie on VOD called Becky. And I would first off like to dedicate this review to my sister, whose name is Becky. And my sister Becky is probably one of the toughest people I've ever known. When we were little, she's older than me. We would get on the school bus together. I was very small when I was little, so people would tend to pick on me because I was just so small. But when Becky, my sister, was on the bus with me, people left me the fuck alone. But anyway, on to the review. This movie, I literally just heard about this a couple of days ago. I posted it on Killer Flicks the other day because I watched the trailer, and the trailer looked very promising. And so, I wanted to get the word out there. And it came on VOD today as of this recording. And I'm so glad I watched this movie. It was a breath of fresh air, especially with everything that's going on right now in the world. It's getting crazy out there, people. And it's nice to have some entertainment to fall back on, to take our minds off of this stuff. And this is exactly what we need, especially as like horror fans. This is a fun movie, but it's very accessible too. Like, you don't really have to be a horror fanatic to enjoy this movie. It's just fun. It's a blast, really. So first off, quick plot synopsis. You have this young girl, Becky, played by Lulu Wilson. She's very troubled. Really, middle schoolers, that age right there, it's very tumultuous and stressful. They're figuring things out at that age. And to make matters worse, the character Becky, her mother died recently. So, of course, she's going to act out. And her father is moving forward with his life. It's been a year. And of course, Becky's not happy with this. And so the villain in this movie is played by Kevin James. He plays this character Dominic, who broke out of prison. And he plays this skinhead Nazi type of guy. And really his main goal in this movie is to obtain this key that happens to be in, you guessed it, Becky's house. And so once he gets there, it's Becky's father and his girlfriend, the father played by Joel McHale, and they've split off because the father got into a fight with Becky, and so she goes to her playhouse that's out in the woods. And that's where the movie really kicks into high gear and gets really fun, actually. You're going to draw a lot of comparisons to Home Alone in this movie, all the way down to it being a child. It's a child against these villains. So I'm sure the filmmakers had Home Alone in mind. What if we take Home Alone, but we give it a hard R rating and we make it bloody as hell? It's really like a bloodfest of a movie. Just because Becky has a major edge and a major chip on her shoulder. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's a point in this movie where she's like, you know what? Screw it. I'm taking these suckers down. I'm pissed off.
Much more than that.
Becky! You're clearly a special girl!
I don't want to have to hurt you.
But I do want to hurt you real bad.
And really what makes us buy into this plot too is that this is a child. And so villains often are going to underestimate a child. They don't know that Becky is actually really smart, really resourceful, and actually doesn't give a crap. And so of course Dominic, he sends his henchmen after Becky one by one, and when they get there, they're on her turf, and especially in her playhouse area where she has like her supplies. There's even like crayons and a ruler, a lot of stuff that a child would use, which is a fun element of this movie, to visually put items in the movie that automatically draw us to children, all the way down to the colors that they use. And the kills in this, like I said earlier, they're bloody as hell. They're great. And it's one of those things, I don't want to spoil it because I want you guys to just sit back and I want you to have a lot of fun. I think when kids are used properly in horror movies, it makes for a great time. And I will say there are impalements in this movie. They use gardening tools, all kinds of fun stuff. And booby trap movies are fun as hell anyway, right? Nails are used in this movie. But that's it. I'm not telling you anymore, okay? I'm not going to tell you how these tools and weapons are used, but it's fun. Also, surprisingly, Kevin James plays a pretty decent villain. There are moments in the movie where he has this one henchman, Apex, who is this Hulk of a guy. Like, the guy's like massive, and I think they did that on purpose because a lot of the times when you put a grown person against a child, you really have to have suspension of disbelief. So I think purposefully they put this massive guy there to let you know that, hey, we've thought about this and we have a workaround for it. And he is the one character that is conflicted about the whole thing. You know, he doesn't want to hurt children, and I can definitely buy that. I'm sure there are criminals out there that they have a certain comfort zone when it comes to the crimes that they commit. And usually when you put children in the mix, it's not something that they're really gonna be comfortable with. But Dominic, he doesn't care at all. He has one goal in mind. He's been planning this job for 10 years. And you know, he stresses that to Apex. He pretty much puts a gun to his own chest and says, hey, you might as well kill me because I'm not stopping until I get that key. Also, there's a really nice element of surprise to this too. It leaves it open for a sequel. And even before we got to that point, I was like, this character is irresistible. This character is begging for a sequel, you know, for a run of movies because she's a question mark. We only know so much about Becky, and that's on purpose. And the possibilities with this character are endless. I mean, she's played sort of like an anti-hero because she's a question mark. There are moments in this movie where you can have a conversation about what she does. You know, she does cross the line. One thing that I was reminded of when I was watching this was there's an episode of Barry, which is an amazing show on HBO with Bill Hader. One of the episodes had this child that was completely insane. And Barry is having to deal with her the entire time. This episode is directed by Bill Hader too, by the way. But it's one of the best episodes of the show, actually. And the child in that episode kind of reminded me of Becky in this movie. And Lulu Wilson handled the character very effectively, actually. She's a scene stealer. And that's a good thing because she's the star of the movie. But oftentimes, child actors, they can take you out of a movie. You know, it's hard to buy a child actor being this vindictive and, you know, this willing to kill. But Lulu Wilson really sells it. And a lot of the fun of this movie, too, is propped up by the score. The score is just so energetic and really fun. And it blends in very nicely with the violence, but it keeps you on board. I was never bored by this movie once. It flies right by. It's really quick, too. It's like an hour and a half. It's not perfect. I was talking about suspension of disbelief before. When you have a child that's this small, you really have to have that suspension of disbelief. And I think they handled that very well. Some of the characters do seem a little stock, but you know, they serve their purpose. But you're not going to walk away from this really remembering any of the characters outside of Becky, you know, in say like a week's time. Kevin James is good. He serves his purpose. But you know, we're not talking Kaiser Sose here. So anyway, guys, I'm giving this movie a purchase worthy, though. This is a lot of fun, actually. I will put an Amazon affiliate link below so you can go and rent it. Helps out the channel, too, which is really cool. And have fun with this movie. Especially in this day and age, we need this. So post in the comments your thoughts on Becky once you see it. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free Fall Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.